Welcome everybody, this is Edgardo, Balentine.
And this is Scott DiGregorio, and welcome to the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast, where we're going to discuss the rapidly changing landscape of the real estate industry.
And the steps that you need to take today in order to survive tomorrow.
Look, I'm going to give you the perspective of a 25-year veteran, somebody who has been there and done that.
With Jesus life for all fart, okay?
Screw you, man.
Look, I'm going to give you a fresh perspective from somebody that's applying those steps today.
So that basically means you're young and you don't know shit.
All right, let's get this started. Welcome to the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast. This is Edgardo Balentine.
And I am Scott DiGregorio, the more experienced and smarter co-host.
There you go. The first take you said better looking at. That didn't work out. All right, man. So this one is near and dear to me because this is what we commonly call house hacking, and is how to build a portfolio of a real estate portfolio with $15,000 or less down.
Look, I'll tell you why this is super exciting for me. It's very interesting to me, to the younger generation out there, how sexy it is right now to buy investment real estate. I am talking to more and more young people about kind of their desires. Like, it is, we always ask people, like, what are your future real estate goals and desires? And building up rental income is the part of the answer for just about everybody I speak to, which is super interesting to me. Why do you think that is, Ed? Because you're certainly in that generation where I'm not.
Well, I mean, part of it, I think, is just popular media and TV, right? HGTV has made it sexy to buy houses and sell houses and all of that. And then number two, it's just the numbers are there, right? Like the majority of people that have wealth in America and the majority of the net worth for Americans is in real estate. And that is a way to flaunt the money, to have a nice house. And because of the whole, I feel like lately this new society, YouTube and Instagram entrepreneurs are talking about just business hacks and financial hacks. And like I said, the numbers are there. Buying houses, and the majority of people's wealth are in their homes. So I think that's just been very, very obvious to everybody, and it's more accessible than maybe playing with stocks or something like that, because you can leverage the money, right? You
Absolutely.
can leverage the asset that you're buying.
So look, I mean, we're talking about building up a real estate portfolio with $15,000, but that's bullshit, right? Because investment properties require 20, sometimes 25% down, and home prices in America are high. Even if they're $300,000, you're at $60,000 to $75,000 in down payment, and you have closing costs over and above that. So your $15,000 figure just doesn't make sense.
Well, it's just kind of bullshit. And this is the thing with real estate, and this is where I feel like people, the sexiness of real estate and the new wave of everybody wanting to get into real estate becomes negative. As long as you're patient enough, it's accessible to most people.
But I want to get rich quick.
That's the problem. Then real estate is not for you. Monopoly is for you. You can get rich quick, you can end the game, and then go back to your normal job. So that's the thing, right? Like you're not gonna retire from your real estate passive income in 3 years. That's just not gonna happen. When you talk about real estate in your future cast, you need to talk about 10, 20, 30 years ahead. Now, in 10, 20, 30 years, nobody's better than you. But 10, 20, 30 years. So this is what we call house hacking. When you buy your first home, you have the ability to put anywhere from 0% to 3.5% down. Okay? Whether you're buying, a condo, a single family home, or even multifamily, right? Whether you buy a duplex, a triplex, or even a fourplex, you can buy it with 0% with some down payment assistance programs, or 3.5% down. So that's what most people do, right? The majority of Americans save some money. They realize that they're not going to save the 20%. They go to a lender. They go to their bank. They buy their house with the 3.5%, 5%, 0% down payment. And they look for that home as their forever home. They move into the house, and that's where they stay forever. Well, the trick is not really look at that first home as your forever home. Just look at that first home as the stepping stone towards your forever home.
By the way, they may buy it thinking they're going to stay there forever. They almost unequivocally don't.
No, but even the people that don't, the mindset of buying it, thinking that they're going to stay there forever, delays that decision to buy. So whether they stay there or not is irrelevant. But if you make a decision of, I'm going to buy this thing and this is going to be my forever home, you become a lot more picky with the purchase. You wait a little longer. You think that the stars need to align for you to do that. And it just delays the acquisition of that asset.
Versus buying it quickly, knowing you're going to convert it into a rental, right? So look, let's break down the strategy.
That's the punchline.
Okay? Yeah, the strategy is simple. Buy a home. Okay, we'll teach you some ways to up-level this as we go. But buy a home, live in it for a period of time, a year, 3 years.
At least a year.
Whatever, at least a year.
Just say at least a year.
Take out a home equity line of credit on that property before you leave, okay, which you could go up to 90, sometimes 100% of the property's value. So now the equity you have in that home is now liquid, okay? Use that as a down payment for your next property. Rent out your first property, buy number two.
Wait. Important to mention there. The second property, biggest misconception is now you need 20% down. But you don't. That's the trick here. That's where a lot of people get stuck. You can buy that second house with just 5% down.
Sure.
Without getting creative.
Right, because it's still a primary residence.
And that's without getting creative,
that's just
right?
a plain old conventional loan.
Yeah. That's not us going, well, there's this down payment assistance where you can do this. No. That's just regular loan. You can go to Chase, Bank of America. You can go to all the terrible banks out there. Or us, which are not terrible banks. But all the terrible banks out there and get a 5% down payment loan and buy your second house that you're going to move into, rent out your property, and you're good.
And by the way, you could use 75% of the rental income on the home you're leaving as income to help qualify for the next house. You buy the second house, live in it for at least a year, home equity line of credit, rent it out, move into the third house as a primary residence, again 5% down, and you could keep doing this to build up your portfolio.
You can do this. This only gets kind of complicated after you have 10 properties
Financed.
With loans.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so simple. It's one of those things where, like, I wish I knew this when I was younger, when I started buying a house. It's as simple as, if you start putting $1,000 a year on an IRA when you're 18, you're going to be a millionaire. You're going to be a millionaire and you're going to be very, very wealthy with cash flow if you take advantage of this opportunity. And it is a no-brainer. It's not expensive, and it's the biggest mistake that I see young people and first-time home buyers do, is not take advantage of this opportunity. Now, there's a lot of bad that comes with it, right? You have to deal with renters, which sometimes can be a pain. The most important thing is, or the most annoying thing is, you have to be willing to move. But think about that small sacrifice. If you extrapolate it, not for 10 years, not for 15 years, but just for 6 years, and you are putting yourself in a position where you can, with that initial investment of, let's say, $15,000, you can buy 6 houses in the next 6 years. What does your financial situation looks like in 30 years when all those houses are paid off and you have 6 income producing properties helping you with your retirement? I mean, it is life changing, is generational changing to do this. It's so simple.
And it's such an interesting thing too, because one of the challenges in this business is, I look at my brother who owns an Ameriprise branch, and I have another buddy of mine that owns an insurance company. And the nice thing about those businesses versus ours is those businesses are annuitized, right? You're going to make money year after year after year on your client base. Like, ladies and gentlemen, this is a way to annuitize your business while at the same time making a enormous impact in people's lives. And it's nothing more complicated than just having the conversation with them. Having the conversation, I know you and I have a lot of tools to show people where we can forecast and project out and everything. That helps. But just having the conversation works. I think back to this loan I did for these 2 women, and they said, we want to we want to be wealthy in real estate, and we were told you're the person to talk to. And here's like the first like real pro tip on this. I said, okay. I said, are you willing to eat some crow for a while? And they said, yeah. What are you thinking? I said, don't buy a single family home for this. Buy a fourplex.
Well, that's the pro tip.
Right. Yeah. That is a huge pro tip here. So now think about this. From the client standpoint, from a qualifying standpoint, we can now use 75% of the projected rent, whether they're vacant or rented or not. So the projected rent based off the appraiser's opinion of rent to qualify for the purchase. 9 out of 10 times, if not higher, those 3 rents are more than the mortgage payment. Okay? Now, they get to live there essentially for free, right? Because again, the 3 rents will pay for the mortgage often and then some. They take their quote unquote mortgage payment that they would be making and they put it to the side. So let's say it would be $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month or whatever it is. They put that to the side. And a year or 2 later, between the equity they've built, the rental income, and the money they're putting aside, they can easily buy another fourplex. And then again and again and again. And the way I projected out for these ladies, in 10 years, they were going to have 16 rental units. They were in their late 20s. And I was like, before your 40th birthday, you're going to have 16 rental properties. And it was generating heavy 5 figures a month in positive cash flow. Guys, I'm sorry, that's life-changing.
Let's say that you do that. Forget about doing it for so long and all that. Let's say that you do that once. Just one time. You go and you buy a fourplex and you live in there for a year and then you move to a house. You gave up, quote unquote, 1 year of your life of not living in a house that you wanted to. And you acquired 4 rental properties. I mean, what is the ROI of that in your life? 12 months of what? 12 months of... Okay.
Maybe an imperfect neighborhood,
Yes.
a smaller home than you would have wanted, blah, 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 blah.
12 months of that for a lifetime of 4 units paying you rent. And the doors that open for you to be able to pull money out on that equity and create more wealth. It's just... It's a simple concept, and it's a stair, like a ladder concept where you just slowly build up to the house that you want. But in the meantime, as you build up to the house that you want, you acquire a bunch of rental properties. Now, the traditional way to do this is the way that I did it, which is the shitty way to do it and the most expensive way to do it. You buy your primary residence, and then you like your primary residence, you don't want to move out of your primary residence, and you start buying investment properties. The problem with doing that is that I bought my primary residence with 3.5% down. I moved into my primary residence, and then every time I wanted to buy an investment property, I had to put 20, 25%, 30% down, depending on if I wanted to buy an investment property or a multifamily or whatever. But the price of entry is much higher if you get your primary residence first and then investment properties.
Look, it's not that yes, it's much higher, but let's be honest, it's just out of reach for most Americans.
It's out of
that
reach.
That is just the reality of it, okay?
But my point is, even if you go the route of getting the home equity line of credit to buy the investment property, you have to put 20%. So instead of spending $100,000 to buy a bunch of properties, you spend $100,000 to buy one property. So think of it backwards and start building your real estate portfolio first. Having the willingness to move into each house for a year. And guys, let me tell you something. If you're listening to this and you are single and you don't have schools like to worry about, like with kids and like school districts and things like that to worry about, now is the time to do it, because it's a pain in the butt to move, but you can also solve the moving by paying $3,000 for movers and just move out of the house. And if you are a real estate agent and you have your 3%, your 2% commission, you can use that commission as the down payment. You can do it. Start with doing it yourself, and then you can teach your clients to do it. It is a no-brainer. It's something that I wish somebody would have told me when I started buying houses, and it's something that I tell 99% of my clients, and 99% of my clients go, that's a great idea. And 99% of my clients don't take the advice. They end up just getting the house that they think they're going to live in forever, not being willing to move, and just not taking advantage of the opportunity.
All right, so now let's talk about the back end of this, okay? Because this is an extra pro tip. We're going to throw this one in for free.
All right.
So now, how do we avoid, or how do we help our clients, or you if you're going to do it, save a bunch of money on your taxes? Here's the hack on that one, okay? Let's say hypothetically you bought a house, you ended up living in it for 3 years, and then turned it into a rental property, okay? Let's say you bought it for, to make up numbers, $300,000. You lived in it for 3 years. Let's say 2 years later, the house is worth $450,000. What I'm going to tell you to do is sell that property and buy another $450,000 house, and here's why, okay? If you stick with the first property that you bought for $300,000, and let's say you rent it out for 5 years and then sell it for $500,000, you're going to pay income tax on the $200,000 difference between the $300,000 you bought it for and the $500,000 you're selling it for. But the IRS says that if you live in a house as your primary residence for at least 2 of the last 5 years, you are able to not pay taxes on up to $250,000 if you're single, $500,000 if you're married, filing jointly. So you buy that property, you sell that house, or you buy the house for $300,000, you rent it out. A couple years later, you sell it for $450,000, buy another house for $450,000. Now your tax base, which is what they call it, starts at the $450,000. So you just saved $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 in taxes, either for yourself or your client, whoever you're advising, and now you're almost double dipping with everything.
And it doesn't work the other way around. If you buy the house as an investment property and then move into the property, even if you live there for 2 years, the math doesn't work out the same. So again, it's all about buying as a primary residence and then converting it into an investment property. Guys, again, when it comes to financial tips, these are not the sexy financial tips. It's just like putting money in an IRA when you're young. You can make hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the equivalent in real estate. Just do it. If you're listening to this and it's too late for you to do it, have your kids do it, because this can be life-changing for people. This is the stories of somebody saying, I have 10 properties when I retire. I have 20 properties when I retire that I'm going to give my kids. And it's very simple to do it, but people don't do it.
And what a fantastic pension plan.
What an amazing pension plan.
What a fantastic pension plan. So, look, guys, start talking to your clients, start talking to your friends and family, start talking to your spouse, start talking to yourself in the mirror. This is the way to build up a real estate portfolio without having mountains and mountains of money. And anybody who bought real estate at any point in the last couple of years is going to be very happy they did so. And there's no reason to think that's going to change. If you're concerned about the market, go back and watch past episodes we've done where we've addressed that at length. So we're going to keep this one short, sweet, and highly profitable. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast. Do me a favor, share this with agents in your office, share this with your clients, share this with your friends and family members, because this is going to make an enormous difference in the financial lives of you and your loved ones and clients. So share this with everybody, leave us a 5-star review, and make sure to tune in 2 weeks for the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast, where we always ask you, are you doing what you need to do today to be relevant to the real estate market of tomorrow?
See ya.
Love you.
Well, thank you guys for listening. And now it's your turn to implement everything you learned today.
Look, you have a question, you have a topic for a future episode?
Share with us.
Yeah, tell us what you're doing. What are you doing today so you could be successful tomorrow? Send us an email at success@realestateoftomorrow.com.
And don't forget to leave us a review, an honest review.
Screw an honest review. Leave us a 5-star review. And for every 5-star review we get, we're going to send you a badass Real Estate Meme t-shirt.
Those shirts are hilarious.
See ya.